Editor-in-Chief of the College View here at the Media Production Society in DCU, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the live stream for the DCU Care and Connect launch. I'm joined by a host of fabulous people this morning, and we're really excited to have a great chat about what Care and Connect is and what it's going to do for DCU students. I'm going to start by talking to Claire Bohan, who's the Dean of Students here, Dr. Claire Bohan. Claire, do you want to tell us what this event is about, what Care and Connect is, and really why we're here this morning?
Absolutely, and first of all, just to thank you for inviting us to come. It's really great to be here and to be able to speak to the student body on this horrible rainy morning. So over the last number of years, we've done a lot of research into students' physical and mental health to see, what keeps them well or what makes them unwell. As part of that work, we surveyed all the students, both postgraduate and undergrad, and we got over 3,000 responses to that survey with ideas about what we need to do in the university to try and improve the mental and physical health of our students, what's working well and what's not working well. So the result of that was Care and Connect. We've put together a plan of action which will be forever. This is not a once-off. This is something that we want to create as a culture within the university and give the students really the possibility to, number one, take care of themselves and opportunities that they can kind of take part in things which will mind their mental and their physical health. So that's what it's all about.
And we've got a whole host of people here this morning. So obviously we've Claire here, who's the Dean of Students, joined by Helena Ahern, who is a counselling psychologist and the head of Counselling and Personal Development Services. Good morning, Helena.
Good morning, Emma.
This is a fantastic project.
Yes.
And it's a great thing to be involved in, and DCU counselling is something that I know so many students will be involved in. So what is DCU counselling's part of DCU Care and Connect?
Well, I suppose when we were looking at the research, while it's good to have professional services available for students to avail of, such as the counselling service, the health service, student advice, etc., we do know that everybody has a role to play in not only student but staff well-being. And so we wanted to create a community that everybody can play a very significant part. And sometimes we don't realise that. Sometimes we don't realise that actually a simple act of kindness for a person who's just having a kind of a tough day can really help that person. And say, oh, she actually smiled at me or she acknowledged me. So there's the level of trying to create a community that will reach out and support students in a good way.
So we're also joined here this morning by Paul Byrne, who's the head of athletics in DCU, Frank Quinn, who's a staff nurse at the Student Health Centre, and Sarah Fitzpatrick, who's the Vice President for Wellbeing. I'm going to go back to Claire for just a second. Claire, how are students going to see this project and this programme? It's all well and good, we're here today, we have a fabulous setup, and we get the emails once a week. But how are our students who maybe don't engage all of the time with the communications from the university, how are those students going to see the initiative and feel the difference on campus?
Absolutely, and that will be a challenge with a student body this large. We want to try and make sure that everyone knows there's a difference and feels that difference. So we're doing it on different levels. At a policy level, we've been looking at all our student-facing policies. Let's say this summer, for example, we looked at the sexual misconduct policy, we looked at the respect and dignity policy, and they've all been revised. But more importantly, we've put staff in place to support students who feel they're being bullied, who feel they're not being respected. So we have about 25 members of staff trained on sexual misconduct issues, so a student can come to a member of staff, they know what to do, they know how to support the student, and the same with respect and dignity. So that's at the core, because if you don't have solid policies in the university, well then actually we're wasting our time. From a staff perspective, both academic and professional staff and administrative staff across the campuses, we're offering a range of training. So as an example, staff over the last few months have been taking part in autism-friendly training, so helping staff understand how they would work with students who may have autism and may just need to be worked with a little bit differently or spoken to a little bit differently and supported a little bit more. We're also offering, which Helena has worked on over the last number of months, training on dealing with students in distress or at risk. So very often it's not us that students will come to in the first instance. It might be a lecturer, it might be the chairperson of the programme, and they need to know how to support a student and how to signpost them to the support services. So that's the policy, that's the staff training, and then on a practical level, on an everyday basis, bad news, you'll be getting many more emails than once a week from me, so that's the start. But look, even today downstairs, you've got reflexology going on, you've yoga going on, there's a table which talks about nutrition. So between the Students' Union and Student Support and Development, we'll be putting out a number of events and initiatives that students can take part in to start feeling what it's like to feel good and be well. So that's the plan.
It's such a fantastic initiative. So we're going to start, everybody here is going to have a little chat about what their job is within the programme and what they can do to help students. I'm going to go back to Helena for a second. Helena, I come from a generation of people who are mental health obsessed. Some people will say they love talking about mental health, they want to fix mental health. Some people talk about it so much, you'd almost become overwhelmed by it, that there's so many ways that you can be fixed and that you can get help and it's okay to not feel okay and all this kind of stuff. But how do students go about seeking the right support and the right guidance about their health in general, but as well their mental health?
That's a good question. I think because we can have that information overload, I think it's helpful just to take a bit of time, 10 minutes of a particular week, to step back and have a quiet time, quieten yourself down. Nothing major, but just quieten yourself down. And have a look and see, how am I doing from the point of view of my well-being? Do I feel a little bit too stressed? And if so, to listen to yourself, say, if I can do one thing that would actually really help myself, what would that one thing be? So you can't do everything at the one time, and a person can really feel stressed. They have to feel, I have to do a checklist to feel well. So while all that information is good, pick one thing that if I did that would significantly increase my capacity to cope. And that could be to do a walk, simple walk. Nothing too, sometimes when we take on a new behavior, we develop a very complex plan. And actually, we spend so much time planning it, we don't do it. And that in itself is stressing. So a small plan that's simple, that's realistic, that's a bit of fun. And we know from research, the easier you make it for you to change your behavior, the more likely you're going to do it.
Because if you are struggling and if you are kind of in a hole and not feeling great, and I know coming into the winter months, people can kind of tend to struggle more. It's darker in the I mean, like, you're looking out at that weather this morning. You wouldn't really want to get out of the bed. You can look at all the information that's out there and think, oh my God, like, what do I need to go and buy a gym membership and do this and do that? But it's actually the small things that you can do every single day that'll make your life so much easier and your day a little bit brighter.
That's right. And so, a simple plan for your academic work and a little bit of a plan for your recreational time. I know that all sounds kind of very logical and difficult to do when you're feeling emotionally upset. So that's why if you do a little something that you'd like to do, such as eating a little bit better, looking after your sleep, maybe flag it to a friend, somebody you trust. Listen, I'm having a little bit of trouble like that. Sometimes articulating it out can actually ease the thing, because another person might say, oh gosh, I feel like that too. So it's not actually just a person on their own. Many people feel a number of these kind of things, especially when our stress is up. Our disturbance of sleep might happen.
And it's nice to have somebody, if you're saying, right, I'm going to try and walk 2 nights a week, or I'm going to try eat better.
Yeah.
Somebody, will you split the groceries with me and we'll do it together?
Yeah.
I think we really underestimate the power that other people and other friends can have on our lives when it comes to our mental health sometimes.
That's exactly it, Emma. That's exactly it. Because even sometimes people would say, oh, I wouldn't do it for myself. But maybe if my friend Emma's going to call on me at 6 o'clock, maybe I put on the runners and let's go for the walk. Yeah.
We're very lucky to have such a fantastic counselling department here in DCU. How do students avail of it, and what do students get if they approach the counselor and say, look, I need to speak to a psychologist, or I need some counselling? Okay. What is it that students avail of, and what do they get basically?
Okay, so the core thing is one-to-one counselling, right? So how that's structured is that when a student would like to avail of us, they'd email counselling@dcu.ie, and we get the person registered. It only takes 10 or 15 minutes. And then the first meeting, we would obviously listen to what exactly has brought that student, that DCU student, to us at this point. What's really troubling them right now? Now, there could be a range of things could be happening for a person. But what we'd be looking for is what is the thing that's causing the most distress, that's kind of bringing that person outside of their window of tolerance or capacity to cope. So that if we did something for that particular issue, everything else would become easier. So it's very much a collaborative kind of process to find out what exactly the student needs that would really help them in the present moment to get them more grounded and more feeling, I can do this. So that would be the focus. And once we have agreed a plan, then we would have some sessions to focus on that. Now we do other things such as workshops, which would be on how to manage stress, mindfulness, the body project, which a lot of people have a difficulty to with, you know, our body image and all of that. So we have also online cognitive behavioural mental health and well-being programs that students can do on their own. And that can be very important, Emma, because some people might be, I don't think I'll go to the counselling service. They might go to student advice. They might more readily go over to the health centre. They might go to the students' union. So this is why the system is really important, that we can have a stepping stones. So they might go over to Sarah, and then Sarah might encourage them, you're not too bad in counselling, so it's all right, you can go over there.
And like Helena was saying, everybody's kind of connected. And Sarah, you're kind of on the front lines, really, as the Vice President for Wellbeing. The first thing most students would have seen, like first years to postgrads to anybody who's coming on the campus for the first time, is the Students' Union. For you guys being on the front lines of student communication, what is it that you do in relation to Care and Connect that can help students?
So each of the members in the Student Union, we sit on different committees within Care and Connect to always give that student perspective based on students coming to us and talking with us and what they need and what they want. But as you were saying, we are that kind of those 5 visible people that they seem to not be able to walk through campus without seeing. So we do have that responsibility to promote different services in DCU, and as Helena was saying, we do have that responsibility to kind of encourage students and take away that stigma kind of sometimes surrounding accessing certain services. Like we'd have students coming up to us and be like, look, I'm really struggling with my mental health, and I'd be like, well, do you know, what about counselling? It's free. And they're like, oh no, I don't want to be dramatic, like I don't need counselling. But you kind of have to work with them to take away that reluctance, I guess, to get help and to see different people in the university, because, you know, they're very nice, as we see. and that can be a bit scary for students, but I guess we're kind of almost like their peers, because we were students just months ago.
Yeah, because so it might feel like, you know, sending an email to counselling or to student supports might be that kind of step that puts people off. But when you guys are as visible as you are, and your office is right down below the floor that we are in the U today, it seems an awful lot easier to go and talk to somebody who's a couple of years older than you or the same age as you and say, look, I'm really struggling. Is that something that you really enjoy about the job, that you're able to have that connection with students?
I think it's nice when students come to you that mightn't have took that step yet to go to the health centre, to go to counselling, or even to SS&D as well. And you can kind of encourage them to get help, and then that ends up really benefiting them. It's nice to see that, and to feel like we're, you know, there is actually a use for us being here, because we actually are helping, even though we're not fully qualified. Like the people here, to actually help them, we can encourage them to get that help on campus.
Besides being a portal of communication to all of these wonderful people here, what kind of events, what kind of supports will the SU have throughout this year and hopefully in years to come, as Claire was saying, to support students, whether it be their physical health, their mental health, anything like that?
Yeah, so even in the last month, we really wanted to focus on a kind of sense of belonging, because that can really affect your mental health. If you're not settling in well in DCU, you haven't really found that group of people. And so we've been doing daytime events that are a little more accessible to, you know, commuters, students, and first year students. Like, you wouldn't sometimes necessarily feel comfortable going to a nighttime event on your own, not knowing anyone else there. But we've been putting on events such as like quizzes and encouraging people to come along, and we'll put them in a team, or pottery. And we did see that people would come alone and be like scared and be like, oh God, I don't know anyone here. But then they'd leave chatting to a group of students and like looking very happy. And I think that's our main focus, kind of having events that people can come to alone, meet people there, and then have that group there that they can then leave it.
If you could say anything, let's say, to first year students or students maybe transferred into the college, or people maybe in second and third year who just didn't really settle in properly and find a group of friends, or might be struggling, and instead of going to an event and they're heading home and sitting alone in their student accommodation, or they're commuting and they feel really isolated, what would be the one thing that you'd say to them now with all of the events and everything that you've got on?
Well, if I had to speak from personal experience, I didn't really settle in properly into DCU in the first couple of years because COVID and, you know, sitting at home, it's hard to make friends and settle in. But one thing that really got me settled in was joining clubs and societies, because they have evening events and like small little like get-togethers, or even if you're interested in photography, you can join a photo society. And it's when it's a college full of, you know, 20,000 students, give or take, it's hard to find people like yourself, or like-minded people that have similar hobbies. But clubs and societies offer that, where you can go to things and it's relaxed and it's nice, and it's student-led as well, so they do what they want in those societies as well.
So obviously we've talked a lot about how important your mental health is, but your mental health is very much connected to your physical health. And Paul Byrne is with us. He's the head of athletics. Now, Paul, I wouldn't run after a bus if I were late for it. I've never been known for my running, but I cannot get over the amount of people, specifically over the pandemic, who were like, it changed my life.
100%.
I was feeling awful, and then I went for a run, and now I'm like superhuman.
Yeah.
Am I just missing it, or is there something? Do I need to give it a proper go?
Luckily, next week we have a brand new, well, not brand new, it actually did exist before, DCU Social Runners. So I'll kind of explain a little bit about that and what that entails. And through the support of SSND and the whole Care and Connect project, DCU Sport as well, the Sports Centre, and DCU Athletics, it's been in the background. Unfortunately, it fell off a little bit, but it really ties back to what Claire and thus the whole Care and Connect is doing. So I suppose DCU Athletics is just a club, a cog in the wheel of all the great clubs and societies that are in DCU. We are quite competitive, I suppose, and unlike maybe like the GA
fantastically
teams.
Competitive. Like you've got
Absolutely,
some of
we're doing quite well.
The
we
best
do quite well,
athletes in the country
are
are
from
here.
Olympians right down. So look, we are very lucky, but I think sometimes we may miss a trick there around getting participation level people, because running is so accessible. It's so easy to get involved, minimum barriers to entry. All you need is a pair of runners, really. So the social running group is designed, like Sarah was saying, it's a daytime thing. So if it's for students and staff, it's going to be every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock in Albert College Park, or kind of around the campus in those kind of green spaces, or even just around the kind of paths and stuff as well. So it's student-led via a really good guy, our former club captain, Michael Murphy, is going to be coaching it. So it's open to everyone. Claire has kindly sent it out in her weekly newsletter last week. So I would really encourage people that have never ran before, try it out. It's pop in, pop out. Anyone. It's pop in, pop out. There's no set agenda. There will be mini sessions, I suppose, and it will be, over as the weeks progress, probably beginners group / kind of maybe an intermediate group. That's how it did run before. And it's very laid back, very inclusive, very fun. Zero barriers to entry, basically. Just join the club and that's it.
And not only is it a great way for people to get to know each other, it's a great way for people to get to know the area.
Exactly.
Because you could be a first year coming in going, oh God, I love running, but I've moved to Dublin from God knows where around the country.
100%.
Is it safe for me to run? Is it not? It's just a great way for people to get to know each other and to get to know the place, because DCU is in such a great spot.
100%. And like Albert College is just we're so blessed to have it. I was at the Horizon or the Higher Options event last week, and someone asked me about what green space we have in DCU, and I was like, a huge park right in the middle of the campus. So we really are lucky to have that. And then obviously the sports grounds, pitches across the way and that as well. But it'll predominantly be in Albert College, and you'll normally see a crew of distance runners flying around there at some stage during each day. So they know the ins and outs of all that part. But some students may never go in there, and it's again just to be in a green space, go for a walk, like Helena said. Okay, this is running orientated, but you can run walk until your fitness gets up there, and like that's really the whole idea of the social running
You
group.
mentioned accessibility,
Yeah.
because like sports and fitness, it really took off over the pandemic. Online classes, gym memberships, and of course with the cost of living for some students who are here and who are paying a fortune to live in Dublin and live near DCU, going to the gym, if they're a swimmer and maybe it's too expensive to go to the pool or something like that, or to take a class, all you really need is a pair of runners. And that's what's great about it.
And even, look, we'll encourage people to be there on the Tuesday and Thursday, come and go as you like, but there's 5 other days in the week where you can go for a run by yourself or go with a crew, and organically we're hoping that people will start to join together. Like, it was predominantly a lot of staff last time, and we're really just hoping if this helps, or, you know, pushing out through the newsletter and our social media and stuff and through the SU, that we just really get more students, because again, the athletics club were maybe perceived to be a little bit higher level and be quite competitive, but this is the complete opposite. We want everyone to be able to join at a very beginner level, have no fear about that you're not going to be turned away or anything like that, and then ultimately over time build up fitness, enjoy it more. The first few weeks of any running session or any running group are hell.
Maybe
So
that's what I'm, maybe
yeah,
that's what's
you haven't
getting in my
committed
way.
Committed long enough, but it's never easy. It never ever, and sometimes it never gets easier, but I think the enjoyment, the kind of headspace, all the usual stuff that's associated with physical activity, and it just so happens that running is so accessible and is well documented over the last few years, like things with Park Run, like free as well, that people have really got behind. So yeah, look, it's essentially a mini park run that will be kind of operating and running here. So
Claire, what I'm really getting the vibe across the board here is that it's dealing with it in a positive mindset, rather than, oh God, I have to get up, I have to, you know, I might need to speak to somebody in counselling, I might need to do this, I might need to. It's actually just, if you take little steps every single day to start to feel better. The fact that it's in a positive mindset is what's really striking me here.
And you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly it. As you said earlier on, like, mental health can get so complex. What do I need to do? Do I need to go to counselling? Do I need to join the gym? Do I need to do meditation in the morning? And most of us just are so busy every day, we don't have the time to put into it. But if it's the simple things, as Helena says, like, take that 5 minutes and say, okay, what will put me in a better place today? For me, it's Pilates. I end my day in Pilates every day. And look at, the running thing just doesn't do it for me either. But that's my half an hour a piece, and that's my switch off before I go home every single evening. Or, the run in the park for those who like the running. So you're absolutely right. It's not complex, but we need to learn. We need to get into a habit of taking care of ourselves, I think, and then show students maybe how easy it is and help them to make it easy for themselves, whether it's the physical or the mental health.
And a part of that, we're going to go to Frank now. Frank's a staff nurse here in Glasnevin at the Student Health Centre. Frank, looking after your body is really important. And I know for a lot of students, coming to college means for the first time you have to book your own doctor's appointment, which is terrifying to some people.
Yeah.
What is the Student Health Centre? Who are the people that are there? And what can students do if they have a problem, if they have an issue, or if they just want to get themselves checked out?
Grand. So the Student Health Centre, there's one on Glasnevin campus and there's one down in St. Patrick's campus. It's a nurse-led, doctor-supported service that provides physical GP care to the students. So if they have a cough, a cold, a injury, a wound, any physical ailment, essentially, if they need a prescription or a referral, they can come into us and we can help get it sorted, essentially. They contact us primarily through email. So healthservices@dcu.ie.
Takes out the fear of the phone call
Takes
that a
out
lot
the fear
of
of the
people
phone
my
call,
age
yeah,
have.
and it's easier for us to. It's easy for us to miss a call, unfortunately, because there's 20,000 odd students. We're a very in-demand service. So if the email is sent, we will get to it and we will see it. And as you say, it can be frightening for people to take that first step of, oh my God, I'm booking my first doctor's appointment. So anyone who's actually come in to meet me will realise I try to take all that formalness away, and it's a very friendly, open environment. I try to make it. No one generally tends to want to come to the health centre because it means they're sick most of the time. So we appreciate that, and we try and make it as easy for them to say, okay, well, we think this is what's wrong with you. We'll get you in to see the doctor who'll be able to chart you X, Y, and Z, and hopefully in X amount of days you'll be feeling better. And if you're not, we'll get you back in and see you again. Because
it is, and I'll say myself, I was very well looked after by the Student Health Centre down in Pat's a couple of weeks ago, and I've never felt more supported or in a better position going in, because going to see the doctor, it's sometimes for some people are terrified of it.
Yeah.
And I felt so good going in, and I left and I felt so good leaving. And I can't actually preach the Student Health Centre to students enough at the minute. What would be some practical advice you have for students who are staying healthy? Like if they come into you now and say, look, I'm just feeling a bit down, I haven't really been looking after myself, I've come back to college, I have to cook for myself, I have to do all this. What would be some practical things that you would say to me or to anybody who's coming into you now?
So as everyone around the couches have said, it's not rocket science, and I know some of the students watching me talk are going to roll their eyes when I say make sure you're drinking enough water. That's number one.
I'm really bad
A car
at that.
won't run without petrol. You won't run without water. That does not include coffee or tea, okay? That is separate. Tea and coffee actually cost you water. They make you pass more fluid out of you. So although you're thinking you're coming in, you're getting your coffee and you're getting your bit of energy, it's actually costing you hydration. So aim for 2 litres a day. There's plenty of water dispensers around the campus. Get a reusable bottle and just, as the guys say, even just aim to drink this bottle every day. Like you come in at 9 o'clock, by the time you leave, this should be empty. And then when you get it drank once, aim to, right, I'm going to try and drink it twice in a day. I'd love to preach and say, go out and buy good food, fresh food, but I understand the cost of living crisis. The sheer cost of the food is going to be a huge thing, so that your diets aren't fantastic in the majority. So if I can even suggest you just take a multivitamin. Okay, that's the simplest thing to get most of what you need into you. Because as you look outside there, we don't get sunshine.
We're not getting any vitamin
from
D
here
today anyway.
until after the exams, essentially, this is what we could be looking at. So everybody, and I get a lot, should I take vitamin D? Every single person in Ireland from now until about April should take vitamin D. And at the very least, if you take a multivitamin, it'll be in there and it'll make you feel better. And the final thing I can say is, and it's even simpler than everything, is make sure you're getting enough sleep. And now when I say sleep, I don't mean go to bed at 11 o'clock and sit there scrolling and checking all the socials to 1 or 2 o'clock, which most of the students say they do. I mean...
Sarah's feeling personally attacked there on the end of the couch.
For the students who are commuting especially, both ways, they have...
Because that's tough.
It is.
Like I've had a couple of friends who've done the commute in the last 2 years, and the way that they talk about the toll it's had on their body is, it's, you wouldn't think it.
No,
but
you're
God,
physically,
it's huge.
you have to concentrate. If you're driving especially, you physically have to concentrate on an hour plus driving at the start and the end of the day, 5 days a week potentially. So never mind that you're studying undergrad, masters and PhD programs on top of that. You have to give yourselves time to physically switch off and sleep properly. So in an ideal world, I'd have you all put down your phones at 10 o'clock, okay? In bed by 11 o'clock, okay? Because you will need that hour of no screen time to tell your brain, okay, it's time to sleep. Sitting in bed scrolling is the worst type of sleep you could get. So 1 to 2 litres a day, try to get a multivitamin and plenty of sleep.
Plenty of sleep. And for students who are coming back who may not have had a checkup all summer or in a couple of years, what are kind of the common medical things that you've got students coming to you at the minute that maybe there might be ways of combating that now so that they don't end up in your office in April or May before they go home for the summer?
UTIs is a huge one, especially for people with vaginas, unfortunately. One of my previous tips will help with this is just increase your fluid intake. Pass urine as soon as you can after having intercourse. Another thing we see a lot of is a little condition called scabies, which is a little itchy mite that people get on their skin. It's highly transmissible, highly treatable, but if you feel yourself getting itching, particularly around the webbing of your hands, just come into the health centre or go into the pharmacy. You can actually treat it over the counter. You don't need to see us. And we see a lot of students coming in with it. As the year progresses, it's one of the every third level college is at a high incidence of it, and it's not really discussed. People come in to me and say, I've got this funny little rash and it's really itchy, and I say, oh, it's this, and they're like, Oh my God, there was another one I wanted to say. I just can't think of it. No, I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry,
That's all
Amy.
right. That's
I'm
all
sorry.
good. So people need to drink water,
Yeah.
sleep, multivitamin, and if they have any lingering issues, just email the health centre.
Basically, yeah, we're not going to bite. I like to think we're kind of friendly. And we're not going to say, many people that come in and say, oh, this is stupid, or, oh, it's probably nothing. And it could be nothing, but I'm not going to give out to them for being nothing. It would make my day if someone comes into me and they're fine. It means
You're actually grand, you can head home
exactly,
there, yeah.
you know. And but the vast majority of people who come into me with one simple little thing, we don't see them as one little problem. So you might come into me with a cut in your finger. I'm not just going to say, okay, let's treat your finger. I'm going to ask you, how are you? Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you drinking your water? I and I know the colleagues down in Pat's as well, we try and make every contact count with students to where we try and see you from as best we can head to toe, and to get you as sorted as we can so that you don't keep coming. Not that we don't.
Because there will be people who are struggling who may not even realise how bad they feel until somebody asks them.
Yeah. And it's as well, it's when someone else says, I believe you, okay, this is something that we need to talk about, this is something we need to treat. The relief I see on their faces when they think, okay, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Or, okay, this person believes me, or he doesn't think I'm silly for worrying about this. It's completely, if you're worried about anything, get in touch with us if you want.
What is the email for the health centre? How
It's,
can people get in contact?
healthservices@dcu.ie is the Glasnevin one, and then Pat's, I believe, is spd.healthcentre.ie. And if that one is wrong, I'm so sorry. Okay.
We will make sure that all of the contact information
Yeah.
for everybody here today is available on the MPS Instagram, and we'll try our best to put it in the bio of this stream. Now, Sarah, if people are looking to get in contact with you, how can we get in contact with you?
To contact me directly, you can just email sarah@dcusu.ie.
Perfect.
And anyone else in the team is just their name @dcusu.ie. Or if you're not sure which person your issue kind of relates the most, you can just email the help desk, and they
And they will get
kind
you
of
sorted.
give it to us, dependent.
Paul, if people, probably not me, are looking to go running,
You never know.
how
you
can
never
people
know.
get in contact with you and the athletics club?
The athletics club is obviously up on the Clubs and Socks page, so there's a email there. I think it's athletics@clubsandsocks.ie or DCU Clubs and Socks. So that ping a message there. The committee guys will answer, myself, and then my own, I suppose, email is paul.byrne@dcu.ie. If anyone ever wants to try out athletics or join the athletics team, you're more than welcome. But obviously we have a separate social media page for actually the social running group that had been in existence. So that's just DCU Social Runners on Instagram, and you'll see it there. It's on Facebook too.
Perfect. Helena, if people are looking to get in contact with counselling or with you or anybody in the support services, how can they do that?
Okay, so for counselling in Glasnevin, it's counselling@dcu.ie. In St. Pat's, it's simply spd.counselling@dcu.ie. And a full range of everything that the service provides, including student support and development services, is on our website. So that's dcu.ie/counselling.
Lovely. Now, Claire, most people will know you're in our inbox every single week. But just a couple of final words. You must be delighted to finally have it launched, and it looks like it's going to be a fantastic year and fantastic years to come. If you could look back in a year's time, if we're looking at this time next year, and you look back at the year that we've got to go, what would one thing that you'd want to feel after the first year that the programme is done?
That's a good question. So what I really want is for students to watch out for each other, and that they're aware that there is a concerted effort in the university for staff to take care of students, students to take care of staff equally, and students to take care of each other. So that sense of actually people being aware, respecting each other, treating each other well, it's again, not rocket science, but keeping an eye out. And I suppose how we notice it will be through increased referrals, which mean that Students' Union are amazing. We're constantly getting students referred over, also from staff, but from students coming along and saying, do you know what, I'm a little bit worried about Paul, he's not in great form, how should I go about supporting him, or can I bring him to you, or whatever it might be. That, I think, at a basic level will be a real win.
And if people are looking to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
I'll regret this. Claire.bohan@dcu.ie. So yeah, Claire.bohan@dcu.ie. You'll find it on the DCU website. And I love getting emails from everyone. Just do you mind if I just say a couple of words just to finish off for me? So we mentioned various ways of what's going to be done over the next few weeks and various ways of taking care of ourselves. I'm just going to give a shout out to Michael in the pharmacy, because I think, Frank, you'd agree with me. Yeah. Michael is a resource that is
absolutely fantastic.
There you go. So if anybody feels the step to the health centre is a step too far initially, he will give amazing advice to students, and there is a consultation room, and then very often again refer students over. So it's great to be there. The other thing that we'll be offering, we're talking about food and nutrition, is an online cookery course. So you mightn't do the running, but you might do the cookery.
Fantastic.
So it's 2 hours a week for 6 weeks on Zoom. So as many students as want can sign up and just learn some of the basics on really good and cheap nutrition, which is really important. So that's maybe just to finish off, say that they're coming up. The other thing, last thing, and the email will be going around next week. So we're about to launch a campaign. You got the website address for Care and Connect. There's a huge amount of resources there. But we're doing a shout out to all students to see, can you come to us with ideas for things that you'd like to see different on the campuses? And we're going to give some seed funding to those ideas. So could be any, no, I'm not going to start giving examples. We leave it open to you. Anything that you can feed in to say, look, this would make a difference to the physical or the mental health of students in DCU if we did whatever it might be. As I said, we don't have huge money, but we do have money, and we'll certainly provide all the support we possibly can.
That's fantastic. I've been joined by Dr. Claire Bohan, who's the Dean of Students, Helena Ahern, who's the Counselling Psychologist and Head of Counselling and Personal Development Services here in DCU, Paul Byrne, who's the Head of Athletics, Frank Quinn, who's a staff nurse in the Student Health Centre, Sarah Fitzpatrick, who's the Vice President for Wellbeing for the DCU SU. I'd like to thank everybody behind the camera this morning: Jack Shannon-Nolan, Dónal McEvoy, Shane O'Loughlin, Sarah Tuama and Laoise Allen. I've been Amy McLoughlin, and this has been the launch of DCU Care and Connect. You can visit dcu.ie/care and connect. Any of the links and everything will be available through the DCU Media Production Society. You can DM us on Instagram and Facebook, and Ava Kelly will answer all of your questions. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.